Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Danielle. I'm a writer, a reader, I'm a student, and today we are going to be talking about the reader part. So, I read a book, a wonderful book, called Nightstrider by Sophia Slade, and I loved it. And I wanted to give a good old book review about what I thought about the book. And it was amazing, it was fantastic, I loved it. Thank you NetGalley for giving me a free ARC in exchange for an honest review. So, before I go into it, I feel like there needs to be some type of conversation because I may be a bit biased when it comes to this book. I have been mutuals with Sophia since 2019 or 2020, and we have floated around the same social circles but rarely had the chance to talk to each other one-on-one. That was until I interviewed her on our podcast Bookworms on Call, and we had a great discussion. I will put the link up here. I think that's where it goes. That was until we interviewed her for our podcast Bookworms on Call. It was super fun, and I would highly recommend watching that episode after watching this video. If you want to learn more about the author, how she went about her writing process, etc., that podcast episode is a great jumping point to learn more about Sophia Slade. I think this opens up the conversation about what happens when your mutuals publish books, but I feel like this opens up the discussion about what happens when your mutuals publish books, and I know this isn't relevant to a lot of my audience because a lot of my audience is not like other writers, per se. I think a lot of my audience is other readers, honestly, but it may be an interesting discussion nonetheless. I felt this enormous amount of pressure to review books and to be brutally honest about what I thought about these books. This has happened a few times in my life where I receive ARCs or free copies of books in exchange for honest reviews, and because of that I feel like I need to be like extra cruel to them because if I review them honestly, then I'm being biased. But if I say that I like them, then I'm being fake and I'm just saying that I like them because I got the book for free. I feel like if I review them positively, people will tell me that, oh, you only rated the book highly because you like the author, which is not true, and I don't know how else to prove it except to say that I do review books brutally honestly on this channel. But that brings me to my next point about what happens when I genuinely love the book. It feels like a lose-lose situation because no matter what, all I can do is say that I love the book and hope that you take my word for it. If it helps, I brutally reviewed books before that I very much dislike, and their popularity hasn't stopped me from doing so. That discussion over, I feel like we can just jump into what this book is about. So what even is this book about? It's about a nightmare on a quest for revenge against her cruel creator. But it's a little more than the elevator pitch, obviously. It balances 4 POVs, each character has their own moment to shine. Ren, who is our titular character, is the famed Nightstrider, a nightmare on a quest for revenge against her cruel creator. Alaric is a nightmare gone rogue who is serving the rebellion. Kane is an ignorant but well-meaning prince and the son of King Warwick. Ela is the queen of a small country of Galesborough, but also is secretly a weaver who protects the boundary between the wake and the reverie, aka the waking world and the dream world. Okay, that's a lot. It's very convoluted in the beginning. It gets better as the book goes on, I promise. So how do I explain the setting? So we have the wake, which is our world, the waking world. We have 2 main kingdoms, Galesborough and Wolfhelm. Galesborough is where Queen Isla rules, and she's a young queen. Then we have Wolfhelm, the imperialistic kingdom that is ruled by King Warwick, and he also has a son named Prince Kane, who is also a part of the Wolfhelm kingdom. Then we have the Reverie, which is like a bastardized mirror image of the Wake, where members of the Wake dream. Their dreams manifest into living dreams, being with the autonomy in the Reverie. When we dream in the Wake, our dreams manifest into autonomous beings in the Reverie, and they have autonomy, they can do whatever they want. There's a different like caste system going on in the Reverie, and like different species types going on. So the Reverie is divided into different types of species, so I believe it's Kips, Vexes, Luminae, and Nightmares. And in the setting, we follow 2 nightmares, Alaric and Ren. The way that the Wake and the Reverie are described are as if it's a living tapestry woven by the goddess of thread. I imagine a tapestry like it's 2 sides of the same tapestry, where one side is the Wake, the other side is the Reverie, and both threads influence the other but are ultimately still on separate sides, but they live on one tapestry altogether. Okay. So I found the world building to be incredibly dense, as I've tried to explain it to you, but cleverly woven. Never was I confused about the world that Slade wrote about. Never did I have questions that weren't answered. If I was confused in something, I trusted that Slade to eventually answer it, and she did later on in the book. This put a certain amount of trust in Slade as an author. From then on, that she would deliver on what she set out doing, and boy, did she deliver. I told you briefly about our main characters, Ren, Alaric, Kane, and Isla. Isla. It's Isla. I interviewed Slade. I should know this by now. But Ren is our titular character / our main character. She's who we spend the most amount of time with, or at least it feels that way. It seems that this is her book, and Alaric, Kane, and Isla also have their own stories going on, but they all seem to interweave with Ren's. And Ren's main vice is grappling with a suicide mission as she seeks revenge against her cruel creator. Despite a lot of the attention being on Ren, my favorite character was Kane, simply because he's the one that goes through the most character development throughout the book, at least in my opinion. The end Kane is almost indistinguishable from the beginning Kane, and his character growth felt incredibly quick but natural in the same breath, which I find incredibly impressive. Kane is an ignorant prince who is just trying his best, and he spends a third of the book following Isla around like a lost puppy dog, and despite not having a heavy influence on the plot, he was still really interesting to get to know. I also think it helped that Kane felt like a stand-in for the audience because we know nothing about the Reverie, nor even really of the wake of what his father does. So Kane's confusion is our confusion. My favorite thing about Alaric was just how ready he is to fight everything. I find it endearing. He's a recovering soldier trying to find joy that isn't in killing people. Found that realistic. I guess also he bakes, which is cute. I also really love Isla. I love how knowledgeable she is. A lot of the world building comes from her because she is so knowledgeable. I love how bristled she is, how aloof and off-putting she can be. I love that she sticks up for herself and that she is very, very self-assured. I love each and every one of the main characters, which I found surprising because this is a multi-POV book, and I feel like in multi-POV books, especially with 4 characters, there's always going to be one character that you're like, ugh, I don't want to be in their POV. But that didn't happen at all throughout this book, which I found really, again, I keep repeating myself, I'm a broken record, but I found it impressive. And I found it impressive that Slade managed to balance all 4 of these POVs and make each one memorable. Maybe it's because these POVs are paired off, like it's Ren and Alaric and then Kane and Isla, like they're 2 in the same thing, like they're both going through the same situation. So maybe that's why it worked better, but it worked nonetheless, and that's all that matters. I have a lot of quotes to share with you. Some of my favorite quotes are "Firelight quivered on the bowed walls of the cave, bleeding out into the bone hills." Oh, the description. Mwah, beautiful. "Pass was a ragged scar in the land, half a league long, narrow, craggy, and utterly inescapable. It had swallowed dream beings of all sorts without a trace." Are you kidding me? Another description one was, "The violet moon had been blotted out by pregnant rain clouds as thick as a forest canopy and bristling with little flashes of lightning." The descriptions in this book are so... I will get to that. I will get there. I will talk about the descriptions in a moment. Another like badass quote that I saw was this quote that is near the beginning of the book, and it says, "Rise, Nightstrider. She manifested in dark water, a tangle of limbs and feathers in terror. Her brain had blazed with her first thought, her only thought, the only thing she knew how to do. Rise." Ugh, I get goosebumps just listening to it, listening to me say it out loud. It's so good. This book has some fantastic quotes that I can pull out, and yes, I loved it so much. So the strengths of this book is definitely the writing style. That has to be, I think, is one of the greatest strengths of this book, is how incredibly descriptive and lyrical this book is. If you love world building and pretty writing as much as I do, I think you'll love this book. I think that the main strength of it is just how descriptive and lush it is to live in this world. The prose is just gorgeous. My one weakness I would say about this book was that I just don't think it was long enough, which is odd because this book is like 500 fucking pages. Here's the thing, I wanted more meat to the book. Although you can hardly blame the author for that, I'm sure that the publisher put like a word limit on them. But anyways, yes, I think that the story would have definitely benefited from having more breathing room and having more time to spend with the characters. I know this is a chunky boy, but I would have loved more meat to the bone. And I think that is going to be resolved in books 2, at least from what I've heard from Slade, who is saying that she is going to be able to write the characters just like in their pajamas, and there's going to be more time to breathe in between scenes, because this book was very much like go, 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 action, action, action. We have to keep going, we have to keep moving, or else something bad is going to happen. But like I said, I feel like this book would have been definitely benefited from it not having to take place in like the span of like less than a week. It is what it is. I think the next book is definitely going to be better than the first, so there's that to look forward to, at least in that sense, where there's going to be more breathing room for the characters to actually, so that we can spend time with them and get to bond with them a bit more. Overall impressions of this book: I love this book. It was so good, and I'm so proud of Sophia Slade and how far she's come. It's crazy to think that I've been following her since 2019 and watching her debut series and poetry books be published, but nonetheless, highly recommend this book for her. This is her traditional debut, and I highly recommend this book for those looking for dark fantasy with beautiful, beautiful prose. If you love fantasy and you love the beautiful prose and literary fiction, this is the book for you. And that is my review of Nightstrider by Sophia Slade. Short and sweet and lovely. And yeah, and like I said, we did interview Sophia Slade on our podcast, so if you want to see that, you can click up here, or maybe I will link it down below in the description. But yes, thank you so much for watching my video. If you want to see the review, I will put the link down below. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and I am trying to post new videos every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please follow me down below if you are interested. And yeah, I'll see you again next week. Okay. Bye!